How's your day going? All children, except one, grow up. And the child who never grows up is Peter Pan, with the appearance of a 12 or 13-year-old boy, and like any other child, he always wants to play and enjoy life around him. Peter Pan refuses to grow up, refusing the adult world with its rules, responsibilities, and even its sorrows. He submerges himself in laughter, games, and endless adventures, as if growing up would make all magic disappear. He has companions, the Lost Boys and the lovely fairy Tinker Bell. By chance, he befriended the three darling children, Wendy, John, and Michael. With youthful delight, he taught them to fly and led them to his magical Neverland. Here, the darling children witnessed one novelty after another, as if they had wandered into a fairy tale land, complete with Native Americans, wolves, mermaids, and even pirates. Things one might only expect to find in imaginative comic books. Yet, sometimes in real life, where there's no fairy dust or pirate ships, we still encounter these Peter Pans. They are adults with a neat appearance, perhaps working in an office, in love, living in bustling cities. But inside them, there's a child who has never grown up. A child who was once hurt, a child who is afraid, a child still searching for their own Neverland to escape from reality. In this podcast episode, let's search for the answer to why didn't Peter Pan grow up? To delve deeper into human psychology, where grown-up children need understanding and healing. Is it possible to grow up and still retain the child within? Let's begin. Why didn't Peter Pan grow up? At first, I thought it was because in Neverland, children don't grow up. Neverland is a vibrant paradise of colors and light. According to Peter Pan's instructions, to reach this magical land, you just need to second to the right and straight on till morning, a vague instruction. But that's enough to reinforce that this land is only found in the minds of children. J.M. Barrie, the author of Peter Pan, also explained this elusive map. Have you ever seen the map of a person's mind? Doctors sometimes draw maps of other parts of you, and it may be that they become very interesting. But ask them to make you a map of a child's mind, and they will not only make a mess of it, but they will actually go red in the face. There are zigzag lines on it. And these may be the lines of the island, for Neverland is always an island with astonishing splashes of color here and there. How do children get to Neverland? One only needs a little fairy dust and happy thoughts. Surrounding this enchanted world are vast ancient forests with towering mountains and mysterious creatures found only in Neverland. For John Darling, this land had a swamp with flamingos flying across, which John shot down with his carbine. Meanwhile, John's younger brother, Michael, saw a flamingo with many pawns flying above. In this paradise, people don't use clocks like in the real world. Instead, they rely on crocodiles or the sun and moon. Children have no homework, no nagging parents. They can play to their heart's content, and especially, they can eternally enjoy the age they are currently at. Therefore, Neverland is a dreamland for children who love to play, fly freely, and live forever in childhood. The marvelous things in this magical land truly made me believe that children would never grow old in Neverland. Yet, the truth is not so. In the original version of Peter Pan, the Lost Boys do grow up, even in Neverland. The Lost Boys are a group of children who always follow Peter Pan. They were mischievous children who fell out of their prams when their nannies weren't paying attention, and if no one found them within 7 days, they would drift to Neverland. So most of them have little to no memory of their parents. According to Peter, there are only lost boys, not lost girls, because girls are too clever to fall out of their prams. Unlike Peter Pan, the Lost Boys can grow up. The number of lost boys in Neverland always fluctuates because they can be harmed by pirates or wild animals. And whenever they grow, Peter Pan thins them out. The original text states, the boys on the island vary, of course, in numbers, according as they get killed and so on, and when they seem to be growing up, which is against the rules, Peter thins them out. So, only Peter is the child who never grows up. Why is that? In reality, Peter refused to grow up. He is the only child who holds an unwavering belief. He believes in Neverland, believes in his imagination. He wants to continue his childhood not because he wants to indulge in fun forever, but because he is afraid of growing up. In the 2 books, Peter Pan * and Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens *, children are likened to birds, and happy thoughts make them fly. Peter Pan discovered this, and like all other children, he flew away with the birds. Most children eventually get tired and fly back to their parents. But Peter was much braver. He stayed there so long that when he returned, the window was closed and his parents seemed to have forgotten him entirely. He decided that if adults didn't care about him, he wouldn't become an adult either. Going home and finding that his parents didn't want him anymore was the motivation for Peter to vow never to grow up. Other children didn't make such a vow. They simply got lost and were collected by Peter. In Peter Pan's eyes, adults are dry, serious, busy, and cold. They have forgotten how to dream, how to play, even the small things that once brought them joy. And so, Peter chooses to refuse to grow up, to continuously fly freely in Neverland. In the past, when I was still dreamy and believed in magic, I also always longed to live in Neverland. But it wasn't until much later that I realized Neverland is not actually a paradise. It is the refuge of forgotten children. Children no one looked for, little boys and girls no one remembered. Gather all the descriptions of Neverland above, and I bet you'll see it too. A land woven from imagination and a child rejecting reality. It is a child who is not embraced, forced to create their own world to survive. Stepping into real life, it's not hard to meet such Peter Pans. From a literary symbol, the concept of Peter Pan gradually became a term in psychology. Psychologist Dan Kiley was the first to coin the term Peter Pan syndrome in 1983 to describe adults who are physically mature but still behave like children. What's noteworthy is that Peter Pan syndrome is not an official disorder in the diagnostic standard for mental illness, but it is a powerful symbolic term that helps explain some of the behaviors and emotions of childish adults. So, who exactly is this Peter Pan? It could be a man in his 30s with a job that provides a steady monthly income, but still lives with his parents, letting them take care of everything from meals to monthly utility bills. He loves many but fears marriage, always making excuses that he isn't ready. It could also be a young woman who constantly dreams of a perfect prince who will come and rescue her from her boring reality. When she enters a relationship, she demands affection like a child, but is easily hurt and withdraws when asked to overcome challenges together. Or it could be a middle-aged person who constantly talks about a painful childhood, using the past as an excuse not to change. This person always seeks care, demands others understand them, but never takes responsibility for their own emotions. Common manifestations of Peter Pan syndrome include avoiding responsibility and commitment, fear of being bound in relationships, lack of emotional control, easily sulking like a child, lack of long-term goals and procrastination in decision-making, emotional, financial, or spiritual dependence on others. So what causes Peter Pan syndrome? No one is born a Peter Pan. Often, inside a person who refuses to grow up is a wounded child who has never been healed. The causes of Peter Pan syndrome usually do not come from the present, but have been silently formed in the early years of life. The first reason is an insecure childhood. Children who grow up in high-pressure environments where love is conditional, emotions are suppressed, and achievements are revered often have to learn to be adults too early. Instead of being children, they become people-pleasers. And then, when they reach adulthood, the stolen child within resurfaces, demanding space, leading to a refusal to move forward. Growing up then is no longer a developmental process, but a fear of losing oneself again. Second, childhood trauma is also an important root. Children who have been abandoned, abused, or witnessed family breakdowns often have a strong need for a mental refuge. Like Peter Pan's Neverland, the real world is too chaotic, too unpredictable. Growing up means facing painful, unhealed issues, and so they postpone, they don't grow up. And sometimes, the existence of a Wendy inadvertently maintains a Peter Pan. In psychology, there is a concept called Wendy Syndrome, referring to people who constantly care for, protect, and do everything for others, especially in romantic relationships. Wendy is the mother, the lover, the friend who gently takes on all the tasks Peter Pan doesn't want to face. Wendy's presence means Peter doesn't need to grow up because someone else is growing up for him. Excessive protection and boundless indulgence from parents, lovers, or friends prevent them from learning how to face difficulties. They don't grow up not because they can't, but because they have never needed to. And the last reason can stem from modern society. Not everyone with Peter Pan syndrome originates from personal trauma. Some Peter Pans are born from a modern version of Neverland. Modern culture is shifting towards idolizing freedom and individualism. Social media platforms are flooded with images of travel, parties, personal passions, living in the moment, as if youth is the ultimate destination. The most loved cultural icons are no longer teachers, leaders, or exemplary parents, but those who remain eternally young, preferring to live for themselves. No need for anyone to understand, just to be oneself. This attitude seems like a dream at first glance, but it can have undesirable consequences if individuals are not mentally strong enough, thereby creating adults with full capabilities but lacking practical life skills. It's true that these individuals might be skilled professionally, creative, and dynamic, but when faced with emotional conflict, work pressure, or setbacks, they retreat like a chastised child. On the outside, they are adults, but inside, their souls have never been trained to take responsibility, to go through pain without running away. And so, many people just keep going without knowing where they're headed, living without knowing if they've grown up yet. Peter Pan didn't grow up, perhaps because he didn't want to, but also perhaps because the world had hurt him so much that he couldn't. In fairy tales, Neverland is a place without suffering, without time, a paradise frozen by the fear of growing up. But in real life, such Neverlands exist within the minds of many, where they seek refuge from responsibility, from hurt, from truth. From a psychological perspective, Peter Pan syndrome is not simply a behavioral disorder. It is the whisper of an unhealed part of childhood. It is a mirror reflecting a modern society that is blurring the lines between freedom and evasion, between individuality and irresponsibility. However, does growing up mean losing the child within? The answer is no. The problem is not whether we carry that child with us, but whether we dare to hold its hand, step into life, and live fully in reality. Because a truly mature person is not one who abandons their childhood, but one who is brave enough to love the child within themselves without running away. Peter Pan chose to stay in Neverland, but we don't have to. We can grow up slowly, awkwardly, yet still retain a bit of dreaminess, a bit of innocence, and a compassionate heart. Because growing up is not about losing magic, but about learning how to create it in everyday life, isn't it?